I call to order the Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018 Board of Education regular meeting and ask Ms. DeLeon to lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Galiff will take it away for our crowds.
All right. So students will be working on a new mural at OHS, which is thanks to Ossining Matters, because they have a week to go. OHS students presented their summer research at the New York Medical College Star Symposium to science and grad students. The Ossining Matters Run Walk takes place on September 8th, I believe at 9 a.m. usually starts. Additional information can be found on, I guess, the school website as well as Ossining Matters. Visit our Back to School webpage for all back to school information on school supplies, start dates, where to find other stuff. Congratulations to our Director of Cultural Arts, Bradley Morrison, for receiving first finalist honorable mention for the American Prize in Band Wind Ensemble Conducting for the Community Band Division. 40 Ossining teens attended the Y2Y conference this summer. Is that in D.C.?
It's in
Massachusetts, Rhode Island?
Rhode Island.
Okay. They received training and facilitated 7 sessions and became known as the group to follow. And we're having a welcome party for new families to the district. I guess anyone could probably sneak in, taking place, and welcome the new families on August 29th at 9:30 a.m. at Park School.
Good stuff. And just for the Ossining Matters Run Walk, so the board will have our table again, water table at the Avalon Apartments. So I'll be getting some water and cups and things like that. I'll be there at 8:30, and this is doing the run walk is students at the high school are eligible for volunteer hours if they help out. So anyone needing volunteer hours, 8:30 a.m. September 8th. Alrighty. You want to do the special recognition?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, so we have a special recognition for one of our colleagues, Ms. Terry DeLeon. You can start with a round of applause there. It was all silent. So I realize if you want individuals to come to the board meeting, you invite Terry DeLeon. There you go. But, I mean, I'll just start as an aside, and then I'll move into why we're recognizing her. I mean, it speaks volumes that some of our colleagues are here to support you, and I think that just speaks to who Terry is as an individual, as a colleague, and how collaborative she is, and how willing she is to share her practices, and we know in her work with students that is basically her focus is the students, creating warm environments, and ensuring the best for them. And she's worked sort of the whole spectrum of our school district, starting as a leave replacement, if I recall, and then now worked at our elementary schools, and then in turn has moved on to the high school, where she's been there for a number of years working in our task program, and really the pioneer in that area too, in creating it. But we're here to recognize her because of her, beyond just the teaching and the collegiality she has, is she's an ongoing learner and constantly seeking ways to improve her practice. And one of the most rigorous processes that an individual can participate in as a teacher or an educator is a national board certification process. And I'll just read some excerpts. The National Board Certification is the most respected voluntary professional certification available in education. The certification process is designed to develop, retain, and recognize accomplished teachers. It's noted as a rigorous, It is rigorous, measurable, and performance-based process consists of 4 components: content knowledge, differentiation of instruction. The third component is teaching practice and learning environment, and the fourth is effective and reflective practitioner. Terry DeLeon has just recently received her national board certification. Seems like a while ago, but we're here and we just want to take a moment to congratulate you on receiving your certification, the effort that you put forth to get it. And so with that, I'm going to ask you to come up so we can give you a certificate. I'd really like to see you go this way, but see what that looks like. But so congratulations. It says Terry DeLeon, the Ossining Union Free School District presents Terry DeLeon the Excellence Award of Advanced Achievement in Teaching in recognition of National Board certification confirmed by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. Signed by myself and Ms. Lisa Murray. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just quickly, I'd like to just thank the board for acknowledging the accomplishment this evening, and also just to say thank you very much. I think it was 10 years ago you hired me for a 6-week gig as a leave replacement in the pre-K, and for inviting me back to stay. I've had the incredible privilege of working under such wonderful leadership here in the district and the most amazing colleagues that one could ask for. Much of my growth professionally has taken place here in Ossining, even though I began teaching in 1980. So again, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to invite Mr. Hancock to say a few words as well.
Good evening, everyone. So I had the pleasure of speaking at Terry's tenure reception earlier this school year, and I had prepared some words then, but I'm going to talk from the heart about Terry, because Terry, for me, is a very special teacher at the high school. She's been, personally, I feel like a fan, someone who's really partnered with us in the journey at the high school. She's all about the kids. Like, you talk about heart and soul. Terry DeLeon is the heart and soul of Ossining High School with her task kids. She not only knows them as learners, but anything else you want to know about those kids outside of Ossining High School. She knows their families, she knows their siblings, she knows their story, and the conversations that we've had at 6:45 in the morning, because Terry's an early person like I am, she'll come in sometimes just check in and say, how you doing? Give me a pound. Those fist pumps, Terry, I'll never forget that. Checking in with me and how I'm doing, being that it was my first year, but then just talking about the kids, advocating for them. What else do we need for them? Like, some of the shifts that we made this year in our E&L scheduling were because of Terry's recommendations and what she knows about our kids and what's best for our kids. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you having you at the high school. You are an excellent educator, you are a teacher of teachers, and I'm so happy to have you at OHS, so thank you.
So once again, Terry, congratulations, and can't wait to see you in 2 weeks in the classroom, doing the magic that you do. So congratulations, and thank you to everyone that came here today to support Terry.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can stay, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you can stay, yeah. You're welcome to stay for a meeting, or, yeah.
So we'll close our eyes for a second, and when we open them, if you're still here, that's fine. If you're not, we understand it too, and say, wow, how'd that happen? Bye, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Yep. All right. All right, so we're just going to give a quick update. Part of our agenda item was what's happened over the course of the summer, and this is, the board's always very aware because we try to share updates along the summer months of what's transpiring. We thought this was just an opportunity for a short set of slides to kind of capture the work that takes place over the summer. Oftentimes there's this misperception that, things are quieter in the summer than they are during the school year. And to some extent, that's true. But it's actually very, very busy, and there's a lot going on from a variety of perspectives as we prepare for our students, but there's ongoing learning throughout. So just to share a few, first is obviously our strategy map drives us, but here are some of the facilities improvements. Just to give you a sense, we worked on our Roosevelt cafeteria. And we're pretty much close. Actually, just a few hours ago, I got the email that says, let's bring our staff in to start learning how to use the equipment, so we're ready to go. But you can see that beyond just improving the space, the servery, and then behind that wall that you see there is actually where the kitchen is, which gives our cafeteria staff a larger space to work in, a more appropriate space to work in. We're also improving the lighting and the aesthetics associated with the cafeteria as well. On the opposite side, you may remember like the old green ramp. It's actually it's a different color, so it's just we're trying to modernize it to some extent and also make sure it's an important space for kids in a warm environment. The middle space actually is just a picture of our Park School library. That's being renovated as well. It's been painted, and you can see we're putting in new lighting. It's more energy efficient, but also a little bit brighter. And we're actually, we've purchased some movable furniture so that it can provide some flexible space. So beyond just being a space for our library media center and some of our STEM work, it'll be a place for staff to meet and parents to meet, so we can move stacks of books aside, and it can be more of a, it's difficult sometimes if you've been to Park School and you have the cafeteria there, the noise of the refrigerators and everything else. This will be an adequate space, and it's going to be, there'll be air conditioning in there as well. And you can see also on the far right-hand side is, what we did, top right-hand corner is what we did to the exterior of Roosevelt School is, it's actually, we refer to it sometimes as an extension either of our learning environment or a cafeteria program, because our students will be allowed to go out in a very secure space where there used to be a playground, but obviously our 5th grade is there now currently, and it actually had to come down due to the construction. And we've put some nice space for our kids, some tables, so that they can utilize it during the school year. So if they want to quietly read, they want to eat their lunch, it's an opportunity, and teachers can take their children out there as well. The two far bottom left and bottom right are just speaks to our community and how our community came to work and help support and do some improvements themselves. Our courtyard is complete, so it's a space where we have programs like Give Me the Mic, but it's also be a space, a secure space for our high school students to come, sit, read, talk, whatever they'd like to do, and still be pretty well supervised. And then our gymnasium, our booster club came in, or our weight room, came in and painted it, so it looks much better than it had been before. And then in the center is one part of the high school project where we addressed security, and I would like to refer to it more so as creating secure but also welcoming environments for our families and for our community. So that's the ramp. We made it ADA compliant. On the exterior, it won't be ready for the start of the school year, but it will. We've addressed, we're creating a secure vestibule where individuals will be welcomed and then they'll enter the building. So it'll actually open up the hallways for our students and for our staff. On the opposite end by the gymnasium, there's also a vestibule where individuals will get checked in. I think, again, it opens up the space within the context of our high school and the hallways, and also a more secure entrance for our students and staff. And then, not pictured here, but just to share some of the other aspects, we're addressing the main lobby at the high school. Very soon you heard that there's going to be a mural that's going to be placed on, that our students are going to be drawing with a muralist next week in sort of the hallway leading from the lobby to the cafeteria. Our guidance offices have been renovated. We put new tiling in there and also painted the guidance offices. As you progress and move down to the lower field, that was completed over the summer. We have a new turf field, and we'll soon be replacing the one at the middle school. So the work is very, very busy across the district. Not noted here is also the park addition. That will not likely be ready for the opening, but soon thereafter we hope to have it. So September is the month in which we'll be opening. We anticipate doing so, but in the meantime, we'll utilize the existing space. And we've worked out a transition plan for our students and staff as it relates to facilities. Curriculum work, it's the heart of what we teach. And there was a lot of work that took place in the elementaries through the secondaries. And you can see some of our staff members working in the middle. Our math department at the middle school came and did a significant amount of work and some adjustments to the existing curriculum as we look at some of the work for the future. You can see some of our elementary teachers working alongside Ms. Sipos at the time. The top actually curriculum, and we're not sure what bucket to put it in terms of the 4 slides that we shared, is some of the work we're trying to do with My Brother's Keeper. So that's actually a community-wide effort around the education of our young men of color. But those are all community members that came during the summer and just been meeting to talk about how we can leverage the initiative across the district and put some more life to it. And the bottom is some learning we did collectively of teachers and administrators with Julie Costin, a professor from Syracuse University, around inclusive schools. And the Board of Education is very aware because she came and spoke to them and provided an overview. So this was like our first step in working with a larger set of staff around some of the concepts that she set forth. And then curriculum, but also professional learning took place. So you see our administrators there. Mr. Dreves is on there. I just want to make sure I shared this photo. He's taking notes. He's not on his cell phone, just to clarify, just in case anyone's checking. But we are very fortunate to utilize some space off campus, i.e. outside of our schools through the generosities of GE, and we're thankful for our partnership there to utilize some space, which kind of gave us some breathing room to really delve into and reflect on some of the work. So we had Julie Costin there with us, and then we took some time to do our own learning around restorative practices and various other aspects of our work. And I would say that even just as of today, or these past 3 days, 2.5 days to be exact, we did some significant amount of learning as an administrative team as we prepare to go out and prepare for our staff returning. So our first day we had Tony Sinanis who's written a number of books, and we talked about culture and we talked about branding, and branding primarily focusing on how do we tell our story in a variety of ways so that it speaks to the essence of who we are. And yesterday we had a really, and I have in our next presentation, in a very inclusive group of teachers and administrators working around our 3-year plan, and you can see the fingerprints of that work hung up around this room of individuals really hashing ideas out as we plan and think about our existing programs for our school district and future programs as well. And just today we spent a great deal of time, if you follow my tweet, the tweet was, if you want to know your community, you got to get out into your community. And so we're very thankful for the partnership we had with Pastor Jones. He shared with us a little bit about his congregation and the families that he serves there and how we can work together to better serve the families and communicate, whether it's in the form of communication or various others. And we had some of our family members attend and talk to us as well at that time. And then we went and visited Neighbors Link, where Corolla Brackow and Rodolfo and Marcella Levin spoke to us about Neighbors Link and some of the things that they're hearing about our families and some of the experiences that they have that potentially we may not be hearing in our schools, or and not necessarily being directed, but maybe they're hearing, so that we can best have lines of communication to best support and utilize the great services that both areas of our community are providing. And then you can see some of the other learning that this Greer took part in as well. So we're very thankful for today's past 3 days learning. I think it was really powerful time that we spent together, and I think we're really energized. We were before, but even more so as we prepare for our students to arrive. And then finally, it's just, and not least, is the student learning that took place. We had hundreds and hundreds of students that we were serving over the course of the summer. And in one area was our elementary program, where we continue to help support, and we actually integrated some math support in our elementary programs. We had our ESY program, which is our extended year program for our students with special needs as well, that took place, and that's a 6-week program. We also had our Innovation Academy that took place and supervised by Bradley Morrison. And then finally, we had our middle and high school programs that helped to support the middle and high school students. And there was a lot of innovation that took place in the reshifting of the existing program so that it provides a sense of motivation, engagement, and at the same time meets the needs of our children. And I would say just last week or Friday and Thursday, we had a number of students from across this region because we hosted the examination of the administration, thank you, of the August Regents exams. So we worked in collaboration with BOCES. That's actually very beneficial for us to have it on-site because of locale for our students. Transportation that we would otherwise be incurring if we had to take them outside of the district. But I want to thank, because our administrators helped work hand in hand with the BOCES team to make sure that that went well, and by all accounts it did. So, you know, those are just like sort of the big four buckets, and I would just say there's just other things that took place from our administrators. Actually, just a few hours ago, reading in the park to students and engaging with our community and trying to build some of those relationships. I can speak to Ms. Deely or Dr. Deely inviting students and families to Brookside School, opening up the school for our dual language children and their families to come and engage and be part of some learning and just building relationships throughout. And that's sort of our quick update for, and I would just conclude by saying that our schools are ready, will be ready, I should say. They're not ready just yet. Park, you have to keep in mind that Park is fully used right to the end. So they're working really hard to get everything up and going, but I'd be remiss if I, at the same time, didn't thank our buildings and ground staff and everyone that's really worked hard to get our buildings and our programs up and running and ready to go. So I'll open up for any questions from the board or our community members that are here as well.
Just, you had said at the high school the security entrance, the new security entrance won't be ready for the beginning of the school year. Does that mean that they'll be going in the other entrance, or do we know what that entails?
Students will be entering through the gymnasium side of,
okay.
However, the handicap ramp by the circle could be used. We've identified some staff members that are going to need to utilize that space, so we've worked it out with our contractors to do so. And then we have some minibuses that come in through the circle. I want to make sure that some of our students are able to enter through that space. But for the most part, our main entrance for now will be by the gymnasium. And we've worked it out with Jim Minahan and a number of others to make sure that that's all set and ready to go.
Just a related question. One is just making sure we communicate that, because I spend more time on the Walton Road side.
Yeah.
And I just know, it's an extra 4 minutes for people to get the other direction to get back to class. So either for the first couple of weeks, we're going to have people dragging in 3 or 4 minutes late if we don't let them know. Teachers as well,
Yeah.
And
So I think it's a good point.
Yeah. I think the other thing that could happen that we just need to watch out for is a lot of those parents who drop off on the football field side may, for the first couple weeks, say, hey, well, I'll drop my kid off closer to the other exit and get a real bottleneck on that side. So
on the Walden Road side?
Mm-hmm.
On the Hamilton side.
Oh, yeah.
Because
they're going to shift.
Yeah.
I think in the letter came home, or an email last went home and encouraged people not to use the M. Wilton lot, because that will be as it always is, the bus drop-off, but it's really...
But I think in the meantime, I think your point's a good one. We can bring it up with our police department and our transportation director just to see how we can mitigate some of that ourselves, so that we're not adding any more, and at least we communicate and parents can be conscious of it as well.
I'd be oversensitive.
Yep.
I just think it's worth thanking the community groups again, that especially the ones that participated in the courtyard project at the high school, as well as the weight room. I know that Ossining Padres Hispanos that was sort of their project, the courtyard, and then hundreds of community members pitched in for funding. So, and it looks fabulous. So I'm really thankful for that. And then I had the opportunity to work with some of the boosters folks that cleaned the weight room, and I don't think I've ever sweat so much cleaning in 3 hours in all my life. So really thankful. And I had to leave. I mean, they stuck around for 2 full days. So thanks to the community for that.
Yep. Thank you. And thank you to the community for their support, because we can get these projects done without their support as well. I just want to add just a few things that I'd be remiss if I didn't add. We also addressed, if you go through the middle school, the gymnasium was addressed. We put in new bleachers in there for our students. That was giving us a lot of trouble. And because of just in-house work, we were able to address the flooring. So when you look at it, it looks brand new. It's not brand new. It's actually a lot of talented and in-house work that took place. And then we also, in a similar way to Roosevelt School, we put in some outside tables for our students at the high school. So where normally our staff congregates, it's probably the best way to describe it. It's just outside the auditorium. Facing Route 9, there's some stable tables that students can utilize as an extension, again, for a variety of reasons. If it's just, you know, to debrief after classes, or actually eat, or bring their lunches outside. So trying to create different nooks for our students to kind of utilize throughout. And then also we addressed lighting in the auditorium, on the stage, I should say. So there was a need to address that, and we finally got that soon to be completed this week.
Yeah, it was probably the 7th slide on your facilities, but you left off the field.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems like it's been there forever, but
yeah, no, it was used very quickly thereafter. But yeah, no, we didn't put that on there. But we're hoping, as I noted before, hoping to get the one at the middle school done soon after, and hope to have a similar picture, similar excitement around that field as the lower field down by at the high school.
So we'll open it up to audience members. We have a mic here. If you can just step up and state your name and address and comment.
Okay, so my name's Aaron Spring at 64 Meadow Road. I just had a question regarding my brother's keeper and when the next meeting for that is.
Yeah, so it's a great question. We haven't set the next meeting. I'm happy to share when the next meeting, because it's a very diverse group of individuals that have come in. It's primarily a lot of more community members at this point. We had one there. The summer has been a little difficult to get people together. But we actually put out an email. I think it's either going to try to get next week or the following week in September. It's like the first week to gather people together.
So as a community member, how do I get on that email list?
Just send me an email.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. We are looking for mentors, just to put that out there. That's part of the process that our MBK group is pursuing, is trying to get mentors to help support some of our young men.
Entail?
I'm sorry?
What does that entail?
I can send you all the details. Actually, Pastor Jones and someone else in our community, I forget who it is, I apologize for that, are co-chairing that aspect of our MBK movement. So they have all the details that we outlined. And then there's the other side that we've been focusing on, is family engagement.
sounds like there should be outreach around that right after school starts.
Around getting mentors?
Getting mentors.
Yeah.
The program in general, but
Yep.
yeah, the mentors.
Anything else? Great question. Thank you for that.
Any other comments or questions, or no?
Okay. All right, so the next item on our agenda relates to our 3-year plan. And so we had hoped that we can present it and the board can adopt it tonight. So, but in full disclosure, we're not ready for adoption just yet. And we'll explain that. So I've kind of shared exactly what our sort of our storyline, our conclusion will be. But I think more importantly, the plan itself, as we shared in the previous board meeting, the intent is to provide real structure and guidelines as to where we are currently and what we want to accomplish for this year and what we want to accomplish in the future, and really strategizing, knowing that things are going to go through different iterations because of student needs, programs or needs that surface maybe over the course of a year and or following year. This is a 3-year plan is really what we're suggesting. So after 1 year, then we move on and we add a year to the following. So it'll always be 3 years. That was a question that surfaced yesterday. Our 3-year plan, and just want to give the board a quick update, and also our community members, centers around our strategy map. So this is a new look to our strategy map, but it focuses on 3 sort of pillars in this case: staff effectiveness, student-centered environment, and our partnerships with families. So those three main things are really our focus, ensuring that our staff is effective and the curriculum associated with that we create environments that are focused on our children through personalization and building relationships. And the final is the partnerships and community relationships that we have, with a real focus on ensuring, if we do those well, that we ensure excellence for all our children through equity. This is a reminder of what we did before. This plan is developed with our students in mind, staff, considering the future and our values and our mission as well. And then also our data is represented in there, looking at student achievement, the footprints of some of our professional development, patterns of walkthroughs, that being us looking at some of our professional practice when we walk through our classrooms and what are we noticing from our staff members, discussion and dialogues that we've had with community members and others, observations and reflections, research on best practices, and our SEL movement is social emotional learning movement as well. This was the original timeline that we had hoped. We think we can move forward with a lot of the recommendations. The reason why we're not asking for adoption is because after yesterday's feedback, we just want to capture it all and make sure we just give everyone more and more look before we actually to adopt. But conceptually, we're going to ask the board in a few minutes to take a look. We asked everyone to really look at and highlight, is there a correlation between what they know our students need and what's the data telling us and what they know about our schools? And really highlight, and you can see one of the things, in a few minutes, Dr. Ahl will show more, is in essence really highlight green if they agree with some of the concepts that are on the plan. So the timeline itself, we presented the concept on the 25th. We reviewed the content with our administrative team yesterday, and I would say extended team because it was our leadership team plus a lot of our staff members that came voluntarily, and I want to thank them for that, to be there with us. And here we are continuing the discussion with the board to share that iteration. And then finally, we're asking, just because of timing, we don't have a board meeting till the 26th. So we just presented to you for adoption. That would give us the time to just kind of clean it up and take all the feedback that was given, and a lot of it's some of the technical pieces. So I'm going to just share with you, because I think it's important, and we thought it was important, to just share the process that our team went through yesterday, our administrators and our teachers, in looking at the plan itself. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ahl.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Good evening, everybody. As he already mentioned, we had a really tight framework and process and very deliberate of how we wanted folks to review and engage with this plan. There were 24 educators that joined us in addition to our 20-something administrators. And so we divided up into mixed groups, heterogeneous groups, and really engaged, first of all, with our data in a very strict protocol. This is from Nancy Love's work. And the underlying premise is that without a protocol, we make faulty assumptions. We try to jump ahead at root cause analysis without considering it in a step-by-step fashion, and very often can kind of get it wrong. So the protocol helps keep us honest and helps us really in a deliberate and intentional fashion go through the data. So by having a protocol, you're able to make sure that everyone has a voice, able to make sure that we suspend judgments independently and just really consider the data and the true meaning behind all of it. So protocol helps replace hunches and feelings with facts, generate root cause discussions in due time, right? It's an inquiry based, it's an iterative process, so you circle back and you make sure that you don't miss anything. And ultimately, by adhering to the protocol, as I mentioned, we're going to do a much better job in understanding what our data is actually telling us. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to come back to the previous slide. These were the items that we reviewed and we had prepared for everyone. And we had two groups of around 8 individuals in each of these 3 categories reviewing the data. So targeted walks data under staff effectiveness, math, fast bridge data, which is a performance tracking tool and an internal benchmarking tool for student performance in math and ELA. TC levels, which is about reading acquisition, and STAR 6 through 11, which is also math and ELA, a way of tracking that, our student performance. Regents results were also in there, but we always remind with caution that because the scaling is changed from year to year, it's not an incredibly useful tool for us, but we do include it there. Student-centered environment, we looked at the Panorama Culture and Climate Survey from the high school, suspension data on the secondary level, attendance data K-12, extracurricular participation, and SWIS, which is a more prevention, clinical-oriented positive behavior intervention tracking tool. It isn't as much about discipline as it is about positive interventions with kids. I should also mention that in this category, this center category, everything we examined is disaggregated by all of our subgroups. So race and ethnicity, SES, special ed, and ENL. Family engagement, we were able to examine academic parent-teacher teams survey and a parent survey that we had completed this year. So again, just to elaborate a little more on this kind of disciplined approach to examining the data as a team. First, phase 1 is predictions, phase 2 is questioning, phase 3 is observations, phase 4 inferences, and phase 5 is action plan. By very deliberately parsing these out separately, because when you tend to look at numbers, the tendency and the inclination is to bounce back and forth to all of these different 5 things. So by separate them in a very deliberate fashion and make sure that we do each of them properly. So in the morning, once we've been able to unpack this in this deliberate fashion, each group prepared posters, right, with each of the 5 different steps and presented out on their findings and really started to move towards action plan. The idea was that in the afternoon, we would take the data now, what we learned from the data, and apply it to the action plan. And we engaged in a text coding procedure to be able to make sure that what we noticed in our data is represented in our actions and represented in our 3-year plan. So as you see here, they're green to reflect a strong connection to our data. So are the items in our action plan rooted in what we learned in the morning? Yellow for just some connection, but some questions about whether it's fully connected or not. And then pink for maybe mild connection to our data. Our actions and the things outlined in the 3-year plan are maybe mildly aligned with what we learned in our data story. So if you just take a minute, I'm not going to go through every poster around the room, but if you do take a glance, we start here with staff effectiveness. You see there's a lot of green there. So what we're learning from that is that there's a lot of fidelity in our plan to what we learned about our needs and what our students most need from the data analysis. After doing the text coding, you see the step 3, there would also be a chart paper where folks would have the opportunity to give very pointed feedback and answer the question, what's missing? What's missing from this plan that you don't see and that we could probably do more with? So you see our staff effectiveness, a lot of green there, some pretty significant positive feedback. Ray is going to walk you through some more specific items that is synthesized from all of these different posters in a minute, but you glance over here, staff effectiveness continued, a little bit of yellow, some stronger green there. Under social studies and collaborative learning. A little more yellow here with science, our science vision. Some very strong green on the secondary level in terms of science vision. As you go through, these are more kind of singleton kind of subjects. We have special ed vision, we have our stream vision and our avid vision, and some items there, a lot of green, a couple items of pink, and I'll just keep walking around. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to state them all, but data dashboard, a lot of positive enthusiasm around that, a lot of real excitement because we do use data for so often for so many things throughout the district at the teacher level. I think that there's a real excitement about having a go-to dynamic space for that. Student-centered environments is a topic. A lot of green on that. Thank you. Daily schedule, authentic personal learning opportunities, and RTI, all green and yellow. A lot of notes in the margins, supportive of the work, and impressed, and the feedback that Ray's going to talk about in a little bit. And then finally, school, family, community partnership. A lot of green, a couple of pink and yellow, and some pointed feedback that Mr. Sanchez will summarize. So, by and large, the feedback, and I don't want to take too much away from what he's going to say, but by and large, there was a real positive affect in the room across the board. I think educators really appreciated the opportunity to collaborate around the vision, and I think the other big takeaway is that they really preferred the format. As opposed to a strategic planning exercise, a 3-year plan, a dynamic 3-year plan where there's always a 3, where the 4th pops up, you're not starting from scratch, you go right on to the 4th. They were very pleased with that approach, and and anecdotally, as talking with individuals, they were very excited about the transparency of it all, and it as a communication tool for everybody and all those involved. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sanchez, and he can summarize.
Yeah, so what you see here is, obviously we went through this exercise, and the intent is you can't have, we want to have a shared decision-making process where it's not just the superintendent and a few making all the ideas and sharing it with others. Our intent behind shared decisioning is to make sure that there's voice from others and that they see value and buy into this process. So we want to be respectful of that, and at the same time really do appreciate, because they're critical friends and obviously they see different perspectives. You make stronger decisions when you have different perspectives from various departments or individuals across our continuum. So some of the things that they noted, this is just basic feedback that we received that they want us to really consider, is explore and consider teacher TC efforts, primarily more so moving towards the secondary. Less so at the middle school, because the middle school is moving to Teachers College and TC reading and writing, but then in turn looking at TC as it relates to the high school and what that might mean. Lucy Calkins is moving towards developing a 9th grade curriculum. So, we've arguably have become a TC district. So in turn, what does that mean for our entire continuum and as we move into the high school? And then the LLI kits are intervention kits that we're working with a lot of our reading teachers. And then the question is, can we extend it to our special education teachers, and is there value in doing so? We see value in that. In the area of mathematics, they want us to place in there, primarily in year 2, consideration for a math coach, and primarily for purposes of, well, we can argue for one now, but if we are going to make a transition and look at going to a new math program, then teachers are going to need support. And we know that one of the greatest supports that we can provide them is that in the form of coaching, integrated coaching. Consider diagnostic work similar to what we did in elementary, and just this alignment across our pre-K-12, which is a lot to do with what we're trying to do with our movement towards the curriculum changes. Common language needed throughout the district, like sort of developing a glossary, what they said, and we have this sheet that we've created around words that are sort of educational jargon that we want to give to our families to make sure that, like terms like APTT and others, they felt even as being on the inside as teachers and leaders that we need it for this plan as well. So making sure that we had something, so that's just a little nuance. And then deeply appreciated their voice in the process. Capstone, they really want us to look at it and make sure while it's noted in there, look at it from the purposes of just revisiting its purpose, number one, and looking at its impact for our students as well. Is it getting to, some of the discussion has been, is it getting too big? Are we losing some of that? So we want to pause, and that's reflected in there. You can see it. And under family engagement, we went out and we did a survey. The Board of Education has seen the results of that survey. We had about 200 plus families, but it's not representative of all our families. And so the discussion is, how do we collect similar feedback at each of our buildings so that we can make better informed decisions? So how do we get Park School families to participate, and so that we know it's Park School students' families? So, and actually, Dr. Alm reminds us that Panorama has that option where we can potentially do that in both languages, in English and Spanish, and then consider any other languages that we may want to use. So it might already be built for us. And then also look at models for secondary family engagement, and primarily looking at, we have a model shifting and moving through our system with APTT, academic parent-teacher teams. But as originally in the plan, if you look at it, it says refining our middle and high school and secondary. They're like, well, what are we refining? Are we refining around a framework is really the question that the group had, and the collective group. And maybe we need to look at that so that there's more, it's a refinement around an entire system. And you can just see, this is just wanted to be, like, you have to be there to really understand what was taking place. So we began with some just getting to know each other activities. That's the far left-hand corner. We've loosely termed Dr. Alm as the Iceman, because he's the person that creates the icebreakers for us and does an exceptional job in doing that. So we turned that over to him. But the truth is, and I think, putting all it's really important, as we do in a classroom, you can't start the learning until we build the foundation of relationships with each other and understand who we are, so we build that safe environment. And then you can see Mr. DeMattia from the high school there working to just debrief and share out a little bit. And then our colleagues, obviously, just working and listening to each other and being, it was a real, I would say, one of the, been in the district for a number of years, a really powerful opportunity to sit, learn, and engage with colleagues that came in voluntarily to participate, because they knew we were developing this long-term plan for the district and having a voice in it. And I would say diversity in the voice, meaning that there are individuals that sometimes haven't necessarily been part of committees that came and participated, and we're very thankful for that. So getting back to our work here is, we've presented, our timeline is to have the board adopt, I'm sorry, it didn't show up here, that's September 22nd, if I'm correct? 26, thank you, it's on the 26th. So it doesn't preclude us, we would start to share with others that these are the things that we're going to be working on, because the question becomes, normally at the back to school, we start letting staff know, like, these are the big items that we're going to be addressing. We could start that, we still feel comfortable doing that, but knowing that there's a little asterisk next to it, is that it hasn't been approved fully by the Board of Education, and we want to give them a final document. There's intent behind the 3-year plan. Number one, the intent is to make sure that we have a strategy around our work, and that it's focused around what we value and what we think is important for our children. There's a process and a strategic process from year to year, considering what can we handle and what can't we handle, and what can we manage, what can't we manage, making sure that they're meaningful and manageable for for our staff, and across the continuum, and also to be very transparent. To be honest, there's times that I speak to staff unsolicited, and they say, well, what's next? Or what's the next big initiative? And this is a way to say, well, just go back to the 3-year plan. It's on there. We've drafted it. So, yes, we intend to, if all goes well, implement a new math program next year. It's in the plan. So it's the intention is to work from a sort of, if there was a curtain, but there isn't, and it's revealing everything that we're thinking and being very transparent about that, and for the board as well. And then certainly measuring the success of it as well. So with that, our focus is clearly on the children, and that's what started it. That's our why, and was really the real focus in our discussions around the planning that we did. And we brought these to illustrate the work. It was messy work. We're going to have to make some meaning, but sort of the timing, maybe we were a little more optimistic than we thought that we'd be able to turn it around in less than 24 hours. But realistically, I think it's important that we draft it, share it one more time to everyone, make sure that we captured their thoughts and ideas, and then come back to you and say, let's fully adopt this. But it wouldn't preclude us from moving forward and starting to put the work into play. So I'm going to pause and invite the board for any questions or comments and/or our community.
Any comments? Anyone want to start off?
Yeah, I think this is great to do it in 3 years. I think what you just said about, what's next, we'll know. There won't be surprises. 3 years is a manageable time. If something doesn't work after year 1, we can change it and still have a 3-year plan after that. So I think this is good for certainly for the staff, but I think we'll see better results from our students, and that's what our purpose is here. So I think this is great. The 5-year plans, it's just too long. It's almost a moonshot, and I think this really gives us a chance to focus, know what we're doing, where we're going, how we're going to get there. So I thank everybody that was involved throughout this whole process.
Something that stuck out at me that I really do appreciate in the family engagement section is the glossary of terms. I participated in APTT last year, but did not know that I was participating in it. And I'm pretty sure my husband is not watching this on live stream, but he went to the first 2 sessions and came home to tell me about it. And he told me that they were parent-teacher conferences, and it was only until I went to the 3rd session that I actually realized this is APTT, and I Googled it, and I saw it was part of WestEd and philosophy, and it was much more than a parent-teacher conference. So I think sometimes if you don't know exactly what the term is and what it means, you can't always rely on, moms and dads split up these meetings, right? And we can't always rely on each other to relay the same information that the district intends to be relayed. So I really appreciate that being added in there. I think it's going to help. And, great job on the plan overall.
Thank you.
Yes.
I commend you on the work. I think it's important to create a culture of learning for the students, for the staff. I think a 3-year plan, we're constantly working and refining. And I think sometimes we kind of get, when we look at a 5-year plan, we kind of get static in the thinking of, okay, we've gotten there, then what next? So to echo Bill's sentiment and what's been shared tonight, I think it's really important we're always refining, we're always working, and I appreciate the effort. I mean, in the summertime, this is a district that works 12 months. I'm always amazed by the work that the staff does. To have our building administration and have teachers come in and work to collaborate together as educators on this plan really is a huge step, and I commend you for doing it.
Thank you. I love the 3-year rolling plan. I love it. There are probably a lot of examples, but Capstone and Avid strike me as great ones. I think Capstone's probably been around just over 3 years. And it's the kind of thing that I think with this format, either, as you say, what's next with Capstone? Either we've perfected it and you're done, or you ask, is it working? Is it not? Is there something else to do? Same with Avid. And I think it's just such a natural format to just keep, you have a goal of setting something up. Once it's set up, it just lends itself to the question of what's next. Are we, have we checked this box? And now we have another initiative, or whatever. I would, if it's feasible. If it's not feasible, that's fine. I'm very interested in the notes on what's not included. If there's a way to PDF
sure. We'll
that,
try to
send it around.
we'll capture all these and try to type them up and try to the extent that we can provide it, whether it's this week or
even if it's a picture.
we'll
Just curious.
Yeah.
Yep. Just see the ones that are closest to the shape.
Could I just respond and add to one of the things you said? I think that's an important distinction, and I like how you frame that as a rolling 3-year plan. That's a really important word to get in there, because it wasn't perfectly apparent to everyone. I think that some in the room thought, like, okay, well, we're going to do 3, and then we're going to start over and do another 3. So the notion of a rolling 3, I think that's something important that we should kind of build into our vernacular.
Yeah, I agree. I think that so much work was done while you were both presenting. When you talk about how you unpacked it and the data that you went through, I mean, that's a ton of work. That's a ton of work. And I know that I feel very grateful to have my children in a district and be in a community where everything is geared towards the children. And all of this work that we do is really how do we get them to be successful, to kind of, you know, send them off in their life. And we're constantly thinking about that. And it's, I think about districts that don't even do, so many districts are popping through my head that, like, I wonder if they even get together during the summer and think about this, or if they just kind of take off and say, okay, you know, I'll be back in September. And not districts, you know, necessarily here in Westchester, but like the greater state, and even across the state, across the nation. It's such important work, and it's 24/7. It's 12 months, 24/7, 365 days a year. So a lot of work, but there's a lot of passion in the district. So thank you for bringing your passion to our children and really getting this off the ground. We can open it up to audience comments, or if anyone has any comments, mic is there. Just state your name and, okay.
All right, so our plan is to present, we'll give it to the board in advance before we propose adopting it. But thank you for your patience on that as well, and understanding. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So anyone have any other comments before we move on into our business of the board? Any comments on any of the presentations that were made, or final thoughts? Okay. So we'll move into our regular meeting then. So I will take a motion then for 4-1 through 4-14.
So moved.
Wait, I thought we weren't going to do 4-1.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Right.
So I need to take a motion then to table 4-1.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That's what happens when you don't put your glasses on fast enough. That's okay. You know, I was looking at it before and I saw it up here, so. So then I'll do 4-2 through 4-14.
So moved.
Second.
4-2 is recognition of employee staff members with 25 years of service. 4-3 is a resolution to appoint additional consultants for the 2018-19 school year. 4-4 is a resolution to approve an agreement with the Ossining Teachers Association concerning unpaid leave of absence. 4-5 is a resolution to approve an amendment to a settlement agreement with employee number 00108. 4-6 is a resolution to approve an agreement with the Ossining Association of Administrators and Supervisors. 4-7 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the reorganization meeting of July 11, 2018. 4-8 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the special meeting of July 11, 2018. 4-9 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 25, 2018. 410 is a resolution to adopt revised policy 8510, meal charge and prohibition against meal shaming as a first reading. 411 is a resolution to adopt policy 5020.4, gender nonconforming students as a second reading. 412 is a resolution regarding a change to the start time of future Board of Education meetings. 413 is a resolution to adopt the schedule of board meetings for the 2018-2019 school year. 414 is a resolution proclaiming the month of September as Attendance Awareness Month. And we'd like to recognize those staff members who have 25 years of service this year. If you don't mind, I'll read their names, or do you want to? I don't want to steal your thunder.
No.
Okay. So we have Margaret Mahoney, who's an elementary teacher at Brookside. Brooke Wool, an elementary teacher at AMD. Joan LaRusso, a senior typist at the Teacher Center. Joseph Macaluso, a science teacher at AMD. And Miss Maureen Buzang Hill, our director of pupil personnel services. So thank you for your 25 years of service.
So I just want to add, this is, these names are like it's an all-star team of colleagues that have really, are highly respected and clearly, obviously, have committed a number, 25 years of service, individually, 125 collectively, on behalf of our children. So I just want to thank them for their day-to-day dedication and the many years of dedication that they've given to the district.
Thank you. And do we have any further comments? I know we have the start time. Any further comments or discussion on any of the resolutions? Or the start dates?
Switching to 7:30.
7:30.
Yes.
Didn't happen starting tonight, apparently.
No.
No, it was in the
Sorry, I was
district
waiting.
calendar, it was in the district calendar, 7:30, so I had a feeling when I saw you come in.
Sorry,
It's all right.
Yeah, no, that's why I
I
had sent that
can't seem
email.
to get it
That's
straight.
okay. That's okay.
long day.
It has
Okay.
been. That's okay. We forgive you.
I know there's...
No forgiveness needed.
She's not here, but I know Diana has a conflict with a few Wednesdays. I don't want to
Yes.
speak for her, but I think it's very important that we move our meetings on the days that conflict with her other obligation to a different night.
So we
So
did
you
discuss that
Oh.
for September. So I think
Whenever, I think
yeah.
it can't be more than 2 or 3 meetings that it'll be
it's
affected.
actually just going to be
Oh,
one.
it's only
Yeah.
one, then whatever it
Because
is, we
she's
should-
due in October, so I think it's just the September meeting. So what we can
Okay.
do, because we've discussed and we're just trying to finalize everything with her, we can, adopt these dates and then
Mhm.
just revise that September date when we get that date down pat. We can do that? Okay,
All right.
yeah. It was going to be, I think we didn't have enough time to do the August one to shift it around, but we can move some
That's
things
fine.
in September, so.
So if we have to change it to that Tuesday or that Thursday,
I
or
think-
whatever it is we have to do, we should do
I
it.
think it's actually going to be a Tuesday.
I can't remember, I don't have those notes with me, but we.
Yeah,
looked at the
and I keep
calendar.
I purposely
Whatever it
don't
is.
put my phone
The
out.
problem with
Find out.
September
We'll
is
get it to
just
you.
all the dates, but there's clearly a time.
We'll have to
probably collectively.
accommodate that.
Yeah, we just wanted to kind of look at all the,
Mhm.
back to school nights and things like that, but we did come up with a date
Great.
that we presented. So I think we're good, but I think we can, adopt
Mhm.
these dates. And I want to thank Illy for her work and Frank for your suggestion that we're going to be able to put these dates on a board calendar, like a Google calendar, where we'll all be able to download that calendar to our mobile devices so that you can have all of the meeting dates for the board, and not just board meetings, but also anything that's going on in the district. All committee meetings, facility, whatever it is, budget advisory. So all of those will be on a calendar, and we'll, I don't know about anybody else, I'll need some technological people holding my hand, trying to upload that to my phone, but we'll see how that all works. But I just wanted to put it out there, so. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions? I'll take a motion for 5-1 through 5-4.
So moved.
Second.
5-1 is a resolution to accept recommended placements. 5-2 is a resolution to appoint members to the Committee on Special Education and subcommittee chairs to the Committee on Special Education. 5-3 is a resolution to appoint members to the Committee on Preschool Education, CPSE. And 5-4 is a resolution to appoint alternate members of the Committee on Special Education, on Preschool Special Education, and Subcommittee on Special Education. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I'll take a motion for 6-1 through 6-9.
So moved.
6-1 is a motion to approve the quarterly student fund treasurer's report for April to June 2018. 6-2 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for lost library books at Park School. 6-3 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for lost textbooks at OHS. 6-4 is a resolution regarding increase in budget for a broken Chromebook reimbursement. 6-5 is a resolution regarding acceptance of grant from Ossining Matters for OHS Teach by Travel field trip to Washington, D.C. 6-6 is a resolution regarding acceptance of donation from Watershed Agricultural Council for the OHS field trip. 6-7 is a resolution regarding acceptance of funds from the Saxe-Sauer Foundation for the Ossining First Steps program. 6-8 is a resolution regarding acceptance of funds from the Frog Rock Foundation for the Ossining First Steps program. And 6-9 is a resolution to rescind and revise item 6.7 on the March 28, 2018 board agenda. And the board would like to thank Ossining Matters for their $7,500 donation for OHS Teach by Travel field trip to DC. The Watershed Agricultural Council for $159.22 for the OHS field trip, and to the Saxe-Sauer Foundation for their very generous donation of $20,000 for First Steps, and for Frog Rock Foundation for their donation to Ossining First Steps program in the amount of $33,844. So those are not insignificant amounts, so we thank them very much for that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I will take a motion for 714 through 716.
So moved.
7-1 is a resolution regarding professional staff resignation. 7-2 is a resolution regarding support staff resignation. 7-3 is a resolution regarding bus attendant termination. 7-4 is a resolution regarding bus attendant resignation. 7-5 is a resolution regarding professional staff request for a leave of absence. 7-6 is a resolution regarding support staff request for a leave of absence. 7-7 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointment. 7-8 is a resolution regarding civil service staff appointments. 7-9 is a resolution regarding bus attendant appointments. 7-10 is a resolution regarding teaching assistant reappointments. 7-11 is a resolution regarding school monitor reappointments. 7-12 is a resolution regarding bus attendant reappointments. 7-13 is a resolution regarding per diem substitute reappointments. 7-14 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointments for summer school programs. 7-15 is a resolution regarding support staff appointments for before and after school programs. And 7-16 is a resolution regarding approval of school volunteers. And the board thanks all of those volunteers for their time in the various buildings throughout the district. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, do we have any further board discussion, any committee meetings? I don't think any committee meetings have met. Have we had one that met between?
We had a facilities
Okay.
subcommittee meeting, and we met with the architects. They gave us some very preliminary thoughts about the future. So I would say there's nothing to discuss at this point. We gave them some feedback, and I think in the near future we'll have enough to discuss with the board. So seems like we did well with this firm. I was impressed with the thought they put into the
These are the new architects.
Clark Lee Patterson?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add. I thought it was, they really went outside the box, sometimes way outside the box, but that's okay. And I think in the near future we'll have enough to have a good discussion.
So just to be a little bit more specific to that is, when we're looking at options, is options to address space needs and programmatic needs across the district. So it was a pre-K through 12 lens on that, looking at particularly every options. But I think the main pieces that we looked at were from a perspective of how can we get aid on a lot of the projects that we're doing. We didn't get into a lot of the programs associated with it. It was just a lot of, I think those are items that we're going to have to continue to discuss and then present to the larger board very soon.
Was that that was the only meeting?
Yep, that was the only meeting.
Okay. The only thing I mentioned earlier was the Ossining Matters race. So if anyone wants to join me in handing out water, I'll be at Avalon at 8:30. Are you running this year, walking? Or you're not sure yet?
It's hard to make that call.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of things going on.
No,
in
I'd
the
love to be there.
community that day,
I may be out of town, so
Okay.
unfortunately, but be there in spirit, definitely.
Okay.
So can I just take a few items
You
just
can,
while I have the board
absolutely.
here and public, just because First Steps was brought up, we are still in the midst, while we think we have our partners in Neighbors Link are working with us to at least provide a site for First Steps. We're still in the works of trying to secure the rest, but we do have a few calls that we're making tomorrow, actually some face-to-face meetings with some local organizations that have potentially have the space and are willing to help us as well. So more to come on that. Just letting you know in advance too, and I think it's important in light of everything that's transpired, that we actually have, in addition to the training and the safety or the professional development that our administrators are going next week, actually we have an extensive team meeting around safety, and that's just a sole focus. We're bringing in the consultant from BOCES. It's part of our COSER, but he's exceptional, and he's going to work with our administrators to organize our CERT teams and just talk about what's happening out there and best practices for us. So that's in the works. Do want to remind our community, and we'll get more information out, that we're implementing a free breakfast program for all our students, and that's for all our students, and more information will come out. We've just been working hard to create some press releases, some videos, and other things associated with that. The other part, I just want to set it within the context of our the presentation on the summer, but just giving thanks to those that came to work with us this past week. It's worth repeating. Pastor Jones opened up at 9 o'clock today to be there to talk to us, and a number of families came, communicated. It was so just so valuable to hear just the perspective that makes us pause a little bit, and as we really try to be responsive to the needs of our families. Neighbors Link, for our administrators to join there, see the level of services that they're able to provide our families, and having that as a background knowledge so that they can refer families, and likewise just take advantage of some of the programs. And we also talked about how can we work in partnership to make sure that they can articulate some of the strained messages that we have in district, i.e., around attendance, around some of the big dates that are coming up, parent-teacher conferences. They can help to reinforce some of those things with us. And even, we just as an aside, like even middle school clubs, like when's the sign up, making sure that they can reinforce, and the students are participating in, and that we reach all families. We all agree we struggled, even as much as we put out OBLAS communication, that it's a challenge for all to effectively communicate, but I think collectively we can do a really great job. So they're just, and the last one is just, it's up there at dashboard. There was one big training that we had. We're creating a dashboard, which is really going to be instrumental in giving us some really important information on our students relative to attendance, grades, behavior, a whole bunch of information that we think is really going to be value in our elementary. So it'll be really useful for us, and Dr. Alm and Mike Hanna have been instrumental. I keep saying it's the last. I just want to also take a moment while I have Mike Hanna's been, refer to our buildings and ground staff. Like he should just do a full presentation of all the work he's done, and you should get him one of those. Instead of sneakers, you should get him Heelys where he can roll.
Do they still make those?
They do. I have some.
They do.
You do?
Okay.
But to his credit, so he's got a very calm demeanor. But he's doing a lot from our email switches. You name it. There's a lot going on in technology. You can't be remiss if I didn't thank him and the team for all their work as well.
And I just want to welcome all the new teachers. We had a new teacher orientation this week. I kind of welcomed them on Monday. We have a nice group of teachers. Everybody seems really gung-ho. everybody just was really grateful to be there. I think we actually have, if I heard correctly, maybe one or two, maybe former students or, who are now working in addition.
One former, he still has this picture, he was a student of distinction years ago.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah, and he remembered that too.
I remember he brought his picture to
He did bring the
Miss Elliott
picture.
when he was in the middle school. So it was nice
He
to see
did,
him.
and she
Yeah.
remembered him too. It was great.
Yep.
It was great. Yeah, it's nice, nice first week kickoff, so. Any other updates? No? Okay, I will take a motion to adjourn and enter into exec.
So moved.
Second.